Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Hold on one second. I'm just digging this up. Let me just... sorry. Hold on one second, guys.
I'm so glad a guest isn't here to be embarrassed by this.
My shovel. I'm just trying to pack this dirt, unpack this dirt. What is this? This is the... Hold on one second. Look at this. Let me blow the dust off this. This is the buried secret of podcasting.
Interesting. I was going to go with the buried podcast, but okay.
The buried podcast of Griffin and David.
Of Griffin and David. Of Griffin and David. There we go.
There we go.
The buried podcast of Griffin and David.
Hey, folks, here's a twist for you. I'm Griffin.
I'm David.
This is Blank Check.
Yes.
It's a podcast about directors.
Yes. And this is the final bonus
bonus episode. Yeah.
Of our most recent series.
We got to say goodbye to a dear old friend.
Yeah.
His name is Shyamalan.
He wears a necklace.
It's got a Sanskrit poem, a prayer.
That protects him from evil things.
He's never opened it. But he goes by a different name.
He does, yeah.
He's sort of the producer Ben of film directors.
You guessed who he is by the fact that his name is Manoj Shyamalan.
Yeah. Of course, we are talking about James Cameron. M. Night Shyamalan is the name.
We are talking about Jane Campion. No, Manoj, M. Night Shyamalan, yes.
Pod Night Shyamacast is the game that we're playing.
Yep, but it's the end of the game.
It's the final round.
And
bottom of the ninth.
Our last episode, the visit episode, we didn't get enough time to, kind of look back,
Yeah, and we recorded that like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, we did.
It was back-to-back episodes. When we finished that, we were like, I'm burnt. Because we had watched a lot of tough movies.
We were really sick of M. Night.
But luckily, we were ahead of schedule, which was really lucky because then we hadn't had any
sucked
I
for
sucked.
Weeks.
I sucked. I've been an asshole.
With
a career for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, you've had a career.
It's been garbage. I fucking hate it. It's awful.
No worries.
I'm going to retire.
Oh, you should.
Yeah. But we're back in the studio now. We had some time to breathe, let it air out. And we need final thoughts on this guy.
We did.
And so we're hanging those final thoughts around a very loose framework.
Around one of the most dog shit pieces of entertainment I've ever had to experience.
I think even calling it entertainment's generous.
Yeah, one of the worst assemblages of shots and sound and pictures. I don't know how you couldn't call it a film exactly.
I try not to use this term non-ironically because it makes my skin crawl.
We're not just a bad movies podcast.
Yeah.
No. We do good movies.
Yep.
We're going to do some good movies. We're doing 2 back-to-back bad movies this weekend, but I mean when we're recording, by the way.
Yes. But our next miniseries,
it's going to be a lot of movies we like. Okay?
We defend the ones that people don't like.
Exactly.
Yeah. We might each pick one film we don't like, but that's probably at most. Do you like all of them?
I like them all.
I maybe dislike one, but
which one?
I don't know. We got to rewatch. We got to see. A lot of them I haven't seen in a while. I'm saying there might be one I dislike. I don't know yet.
It's The Matrix, isn't it? That would be funny if that was the one you picked.
Matrix
of the
is so stupid.
Fuck The Matrix. Anyway, we're talking about M. Night Shyamalan, and we are talking about...
Well, what I was going to say is I try not to use this term non-ironically.
Oh, yeah, what's the term?
This is just a piece of content. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
To call it entertainment
it's a piece of
implies that it can entertain.
Content.
This is content. It exists.
It exists. It ate up 3 hours of airtime in 2004 on the SyFy Channel.
It's currently eating up bandwidth on YouTube.
Probably just a very small amount of bandwidth. It's spread over 13 parts on YouTube if you want to experience it.
I bought the DVD, and I can tell you...
Did you?
Yeah, it's full of data.
You maniac! You bought the DVD?
Yeah.
Did you watch it on DVD?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I watched it on YouTube. It's on YouTube, guys. What we're talking about...
DVD picture quality was great, by
is the second film by Oscar-nominated documentary filmmaker Nathaniel Kahn.
Nathaniel Kahn.
His second film.
His first film was called My Architect.
It's pretty good.
I liked it.
Good movie. I haven't seen it in,
I saw when
13
it came out.
years or whatever.
Right. But it was about his father.
It was a
architect.
personal journey through the life of his dad.
His father died when he was young. He never had much of a relationship with him, and it's him trying to come to understand now as an adult his father through his work. So he travels around to see the things his father constructed.
Right. It's called My Architect. We're not discussing that film.
Absolutely not discussing
We're
it.
not going to discuss it.
Now,
It lost to, I don't know, can you guess?
2000. Was that the Bowling for Columbine year? Maybe 2003.
That sounds possible.
Or did Bowling for Columbine come out in 2002 or 2003?
But we were at war. Remember, because he gave it was The Fog of War.
Oh,
One of the greatest documentaries ever made.
It's a phenomenal film.
Won Best Documentary, but he was nominated. And
Yes,
then
he
after
was.
that,
He made
he made a movie for the SyFy Channel.
yeah.
Not SyFy, as it is now known.
No.
The SyFy Channel.
SyFy.
Remember when fucking SyFy Channel rocked and like their logo was like the planet Saturn? It was great.
SCIFI.
There's a hyphen in there.
CHANNEL.
The film is The Buried Secret of M. Night Shyamalan.
Now, do you know this, David? That after this piece of content, Nathaniel Kahn made a documentary short
He did.
that
called
was
Two Hands. The
also
Leon
nominated
Fleischer
for an
story.
Oscar.
He's been nominated for 2 Academy Awards.
but an Oscar sandwich. He got 2 Oscar-nominated projects on either side of this piece of work.
good for him.
So, backstory. The year is 2003.
Sure.
M. Night Shyamalan is deep
He's shooting my favorite movie of his.
in production on The Village.
Correct.
He is starting to really
He's
get
in
into
Chester County, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Shooting this thing. They cleared out some farmland.
and he's getting really into building this mythology.
We could have done a bit where we just pretended that this was a real documentary, but that probably wouldn't have been funny, right? I was just thinking about it, but
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Yeah.
He's deep in the village.
I just also thought it would have been funny if we recorded our episode of The Village and pretended that it was 1872 throughout the whole episode.
What is this device in front of me,
Yeah,
brother? No,
yeah.
okay, I don't remember how they talk in that movie. He's
He's
shooting the village.
shooting The Village, and he gets into this idea. So he goes to SyFy Channel, and he's like, what if we made a documentary?
Do you think he went straight to the SyFy Channel, or do you think he went
I
to
don't-
like NBC and NBC was like, get the fuck out of here?
I think first he went to the U.S. Government Department of Arts and Letters.
He went to Errol Morris.
Right.
He took them all down. You know, he
Yeah.
went to every
Yeah.
every major documentary.
I will say, though, Nathaniel Kahn's a Philly boy. So I think he might have been high
Nathaniel
up the
Kahn is
list
from
for
Philadelphia.
that. He'd done some good work, and he was a Philly boy.
So yeah, no, Shyamalan's making The Village. He goes to the SyFy Channel.
Yeah.
And he says, you're going to make a documentary about making The Village.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But let's do it Blair Witch style.
Let's pretend that I don't want you to make this documentary.
Let's fake it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a mix of the Blair Witch Project and I don't like that documentary about Metallica.
Yeah,
something,
some
you
kind of
know?
monster.
Some kind of monster. Right? It's like a found footage horror movie and also about a really annoying artist
Yes.
who is like a total pain in the ass.
But the levels of narcissism and self-indulgence here are,
This
hey,
is why we have to discuss it.
I want you to make a documentary about people who are so eager to find out everything about me, but I'm going to pretend like I didn't want you to make this.
Correct.
And publicly play that charade.
Right. Let's first discuss, I want to just briefly, before we get to the content, this was pitched, yes, and advertised as like, oh, it's the movie he, doesn't want you to see. It's
Yeah.
about M. Night Shyamalan's buried secrets, all of the secrets.
Yeah.
And they convinced the Associated Press, which is a national journalistic organization, that they pitched them this, and the AP, bit, and they said, like, oh, Shyamalan was furious when they made this movie, and he walked out of filming or whatever, And then before this thing even aired on the SyFy Channel, the SyFy Channel and NBC, I think, who owned them at the time, had to publicly apologize for fooling the press.
Yes.
And so the secret was blown before this thing even aired.
Yeah, and because it was getting written up in the papers and stuff, and then I remember in page 6 them having an item that was spoken to people close to production.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hearing that M. Night was very involved with the film the entire time,
Right.
was a producer on it, this and that.
Yeah.
Someone else broke the story, and NBC Universal had to be cards on the table.
It's just funny that it didn't even get to air once and
No.
do its dumb little joke
Right.
before NBC was like, we're really sorry we made this thing.
Which also means that by the time it aired, absolutely no one wanted to watch it.
Did anyone watch it?
No, it I think got abysmal ratings. But before we get into there's something I have to say.
Yep.
very, very happy to have sitting with us at the table again. In the studio at the table.
Yeah.
He's been switching back and forth. He's here, he's there. In a box with a fox.
What's his name?
His name's Producer Ben.
Great.
Hey, guys. Always happy to be in the room with you.
A.K.A. Producer Ben, A.K.A. the Ben Deucer, A.K.A. the Poet Laureate, A.K.A. the Haas, A.K.A. Mr. Positive, A.K.A. Hello Fennel, A.K.A. Birthday Benny, A.K.A. the Tiebreaker, A.K.A. the Peeper, A.K.A. Mr. Positive. He's not Professor Crispy.
You tried to give him a new one in the last episode.
The Fuckmaster?
I've actually had a few people tell me they like the Fuckmaster.
Really?
He's the Fuckmaster.
Then it's in there.
It's in there.
Now, we coined a name, a sort of ceremonial name, when we were shedding our Star Wars wings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Producer Ben Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
And then as The Force Awakens came out, that was really
Kylo
sort
Ben.
of Kylo Ben. I feel that we need to, add a name for each miniseries we do.
Oh,
Not the
you want to
one-offs.
give him a Shyamalan name.
Ben Night Shyamalan.
It's so obvious, really.
How did we not think of that?
Yeah. So, Ben, you've graduated.
Ben, you're here. Ben Knight.
You've graduated from the Pod Night Shyamacast miniseries, and you walk out of it with another title on your chest.
Wow.
Ben Night Shyamalan.
Wow.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fucking fantastic. We're done with this shit.
Yep.
No more
We're done with this shit. The thing with Shyamalan, I think we talked about it in the Visit episode. It's like you're like, oh, fun movies, interesting, great, and then you just hit a wall and it's just garbage. Like there's no. Like preparation, and then you don't pull out of it. I mean, The Visit, I guess, is good, but it's weeks of nonsense,
and it's a bummer. It's like it's hard when we had like a couple of years in between each of those movies, and you were like, I don't know, maybe he's gonna pull it out.
Yeah,
but like watching them and knowing like 5 days I have to watch that, like knowing what's coming up next. We got a very nice write up from Pace Magazine.
Thank you, Pace Magazine.
I don't know why they decided to do that, but it was a writer I'd never heard of. I saw the piece and I was like, oh, it must be someone who we know who follows us on Twitter who wrote it up. It was someone I'd never heard of before.
Right.
And I'm bringing his name now, but thank you for writing us up. But they said they were reviewing our episode on The Visit.
Yeah.
And they were saying it was nice and kind of emotional to hear the uplift in our voice. That we were ending on a note of promise that we felt like we were being saved from this thing.
So then we decided to do an episode about the buried secret of M. Night Shyamalan.
We're just burying ourselves back under.
He didn't make it. He didn't direct it.
Right.
He was involved, clearly.
We didn't necessarily feed everyone lines when talking about him.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
We got a lot of
we've
gotten a lot of questions. People being like, aren't you going to cover Devil? Didn't he direct that? No, he produced that.
He produced it, and I believe he wrote the story.
Yeah. There was a shingle he was going to start up called the Night Chronicles, and Universal was going to release low-budget films that were his ideas, and that was the only one that happened. Wayward Pines, I believe he only directed the pilots.
That's correct.
I mean, there are some things like this that people ask about, are you going to cover Stuart Little? No, he's one of 2 credited screenwriters. We're not going to cover
I think he enjoyed writing Stuart Little, and that's the end of that.
Yeah, exactly. He was a ghostwriter, no pun intended, on She's All That. Are we going to cover that? No, we're not going to cover it. We could be here all day. We're not. But Buried Secret, we wanted to do one final thing.
Just to think about him.
And this is, I think this film... he did not direct it, but it was his brainchild. He willed into existence. The only reason it was made was because he convinced other people it was worth making.
Sure.
And it is.
And it was coming, like we said, it's coming at a Blair Witchy, that was still hot, the sort of mockumentary horror movie.
I also think doing this right after The Visit is fascinating because The Visit is also a fake documentary.
True.
Albeit a infinitely more successful.
Most found footage movies are not fake documentaries. That's the thing. It's a slightly different genre, whereas The Visit is a fake documentary. It's been cut together.
It's not a found footage
Same thing with Blair Witch.
Same thing with this. This is a film that is ostensibly...
It's not a horror movie, film. It is a nothing movie.
No. Okay, here's the other thing we need to talk about before we get into the film.
You're in it.
I'm not in this movie.
No.
Okay, so I had not seen it before tonight, and then this morning I watched it.
You are... According to IMDb, you are 13th in appearance.
Ooh, 13.
As teenage fan.
Might be a sign. Okay, so this we need to discuss all of this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I said...
I'm so excited.
I said somewhat erroneously in the our Last Airbender episode.
Yeah, you said that you're sort of biking around in the background, basically, of a scene.
Yeah, but I also said that Last Airbender was the first movie I auditioned for, which is obviously not true because this was filmed before that, right?
Yeah.
So I started doing stand-up when I was 10 years old because I'm a broken human being.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for a couple years, and I got some attention.
You were the stand-up tyke.
I was a little tight.
You were like Lights, Camera, Jackson, but with
I was
stand-up.
like Lights, Camera, Jackson. I only did political humor. So it was like a weird...
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Have we ever talked about this?
No.
My dad really liked politics, and the only way I could make my dad laugh was if I made jokes about politicians. So I, got really good at making jokes about politicians around the house. I wasn't talking about, fucking policy.
I understand.
I was talking about, Catherine Harris wears too much makeup, or,
I know, I get you.
Yeah, whatever the latest scandal was. I was really good on political scandals, right? So then when I started doing stand-up, I was like, I'm going to do stuff that makes my dad laugh.
Yeah.
And then people were like, what the fuck is this robot child doing here?
So you really were Lights, Camera, Jackson.
I was 4 foot negative 12 inches tall. And my t-shirt was down to my knees because no clothes fit me. And I wear a backwards hat all the time, and I had a helium voice. And I did all political humor, and it got some attention, right?
Okay, and so you're saying you got cast off of this?
No, I'm saying I started auditioning.
M. Night was in the audience. You did an open mic in Philly. What's the Philly venue?
Funny Bone.
Oh,
I don't
Helium.
know.
Yeah, Helium.
Fuck, you nailed it.
Yeah. Good job, Ben.
Yeah. My parents very much didn't want me to become an actor at all.
Sure. Yeah, they were smart.
And especially didn't want me to be a stage kid. And I was at the age of 4, I want to be in movies. And they were like, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
But I started doing the stand-up thing, and then I got attention from that. And my mother was...
what did your parents want you to do?
I don't know. I just think...
they weren't guiding you towards, being a lawyer.
No, there never seemed to be any guidance. I think they actually... a writer, maybe. But outside of the entertainment industry, maybe
sure.
Maybe a playwright would have been their ideal.
I'm just looking at Lights, Camera, Jackson's Twitter feed right now. I got to be honest.
Any good stuff?
Well, he brought The Boss to a screening of The Boss. By the way, The Boss is his mother.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
He wished Patty Arquette a happy birthday.
Did he call her Patty, or are we calling her Patty?
She is at Patty Arquette on Twitter.
Oh, that's cool.
And he said, "Have a medium-sized celebration," which I believe is a reference to her canceled TV show Medium.
Yeah. Lights, Camera, Jackson has blocked me on Twitter.
I forgot about it.
And I hate it because I like looking at his tweets, and I can only see them now when other people retweet them. I need to
Oh, he went to visit SUNY Purchase because it's time to start seriously thinking about college. Then he posted a picture of himself by a clock.
Have we talked about trying to get him on as a guest on this show?
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that?
We've talked about it.
I'd love to do it.
Yeah, I know.
My mother was an actress. She retired when I was born.
Mm-hmm.
So she really wanted to be in the film industry.
Yeah,
and sort of couldn't pull it off.
No, I understand. Right.
And my father ended up working in the film industry by accident and hated it.
Yeah,
and now is a teacher and teaches students how to not make all the mistakes he made in his life.
Right.
And he finds that cathartic.
Yeah.
But I had two parents, one who wanted to be in the industry and was miserable because she couldn't hit what she wanted to hit.
Yeah.
And one who didn't want to be in it and was miserable because he hated being in it.
Yeah.
And so both my parents were like, don't do this.
But you did it.
I did it, of course, because they told me not to do it. It's the same reason I don't speak French. It's because my mom wanted me to speak French. When I was doing stand-up, started putting me up for audition.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was very sporadically throughout my adolescence auditioning for stuff and not getting jobs.
No,
right?
I get you.
But I was very sporadically doing that. And this, the Buried Secret of M. Night Shyamalan was the one job I ever got. Anyway, and then when I went up to college, I sort of had this realization that I wanted to be acting, and I dropped out, and I started...
And you made Beware the Gonzo.
Doing it seriously.
Yeah.
Right. I made Beware the Gonzo, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Wait, you were in 4 episodes of Gravity?
Yeah.
Wow. How was that?
I shot 4 episodes worth of scenes in an hour and a half.
Wow, Mike Binder.
What, not Mike Binder. It's the other one.
Oh, it's the other guy. It's the other guy I can't stand who seems to make an incredible amount of things. It's not Mike Binder.
It's the
You're
other
right.
one. But you know exactly what I meant when I said the other one.
Eric Schaefer.
Eric Schaefer,
Oh,
yes. This is a nice walk down memory lane.
Me and Pilot were just talking about Gravity on for our past guest, Pilot Vera, about how it was arguably the worst television show ever created. No offense.
Many thought so. Pilot, cover Gravity or review Gravity for AV Club.
I don't believe so.
Because I distinctly remember the AV Club review, which the opening sentence was, Gravity, easily the worst television series of the year.
It was so bad.
Yeah, I played a gay computer hacker who joked about
Kristen Ritter.
And Stacy's mom was on it. What's her name?
Pretty hard to find Stacy's mom from This Is Found in Wayne song?
Yeah.
Rachel Hunter? Is that her name? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's hard to find the AV Club's Gravity review because there's also reviews of the great cartoon series Gravity Falls.
I'm
not going to find it.
The Last Airbender was like the first thing I auditioned for when I was like, I'm
we
trying
talked
to be an
about
actor.
that.
now.
But
and up until
You're okay to talk about this though, right? We're not like
no,
you're okay with it? Because if you have a problem with this, we could stop right now. I just want to make sure you're good.
Ben is functioning as my PR person for this episode.
Griffin, if you don't want to talk about this,
I'm comfortable talking about it. Will you just shoo that crow out of the studio?
I will.
You guys shouldn't watch this because it's very long and very bad.
Oh, but
I will say, if you do watch it, you will understand the handful of references we make to it in this episode.
Definitely. Okay, so here's the end of my involvement and connection to this
you're
thing.
casting this thing as teenage fan.
Right. The casting director, Doug Abel, who I've referenced in previous episodes, was one of the guys who would call me into audition for stuff.
Yeah.
And I was a big M. Night Shyamalan fan, and they called me into audition for the stuff, and they were like, it's a top secret project. It's an M. Night Shyamalan thing. We need improvisers.
Mm-hmm. Did you sign a non-disclosure agreement?
Yes. So this is the first time I've ever talked about this.
Breach of contract, actually? I didn't even think
probably.
Well, except everyone talked about it.
Just say allegedly.
Allegedly.
Boom.
Allegedly, I auditioned for this, right?
All right.
They were like...
Let's wrap this story
They
up.
were like,
God, you're still auditioning for it. Fucking hell.
No, in the audition, they just said, like, okay, so just talk to me about what do you like about M. Night Shyamalan's movies, and just sort of imply that you think that there's some bigger phenomenon going on, but don't say what it is. And it was him interviewing me.
Like the film phenomenon.
Right. Yeah. And then I got the part. I was really excited.
Mm-hmm.
Got to miss school for a day.
Which is cool.
My freshman year of high school, right? Got 2 scenes. So if you've watched this film, I shot 2 scenes. I went home. I was back at school the next day. Took the train in and out of Philly. The iconic Philly train station from Unbreakable.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was waiting there, right? I thought I had been completely cut out of the film.
And you were right.
Because I thought the role had been cut out.
Yeah, I understand you.
Then the reviews started coming out.
And they all said Griffin Newman ruins the film.
So I was like, I guess they recast it.
Right.
But I might be in there, like...
In there somewhere.
In a group thing. You know?
You didn't worry enough to actually watch the fucking thing.
I never wanted to watch it. But I thought I was... So here's where my role would have been. There's a scene in the film.
Pretty early on.
Should we start from the beginning of the movie?
Okay, so the movie is about Nathaniel Kahn being contracted to make a run-of-the-mill documentary. Although we do begin, I suppose, in medias res.
Yeah, we have to say.
Where he's been checked out.
It's a panning shot of an empty hotel room, right? That's perfectly made.
I won't dignify this.
You don't see any people on screen.
And he's like angrily on
and you hear
phone.
his voice and he's like, my party has not checked out. What is happening here? My computer's gone. As if it's like a stunning occurrence.
Anyway.
Usually when things start in media res, the idea is you go, how did you get to this point? How could this have happened? And then you have to back up to show what happened. And I'm
so he's making a movie about M. Night Shyamalan making The Village. He's been
SyFy
contracted to make
a
making of, essentially.
Right.
At one point, Adrian Brody is like, well, if this was an EPK, which is an electronic press kit for you guys,
right?
Which is like with DVD extras.
And that's like the production itself is filming that stuff.
Exactly. Then you're allowed to you can be candid and say like, oh, it's crazy. I'm Adrian Brody, and it's crazy when I stab Joaquin Phoenix.
So I guess the reality of this film is that the SyFy Channel came to him, said, M. Night Shyamalan's making a new movie. We want to independently make a film behind the scenes of his film. So we're going to try to get you clearance as if you are a press person. Produce an hour and a half.
2 hours.
Well, I'm saying maybe at the time they thought it was going to be
within the reality of this
within the reality of the movie.
Fucking fictional movie.
Yeah, right, but I think that's the idea.
Whatever.
But that has never happened in the history of the world. There's an unauthorized feature-length documentary.
No, but it is authorized. I'm saying authorized, non-authorized.
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't. So you
don't have to answer that question, Griffin, if you don't want to.
I appreciate that.
He goes to the set of The Village.
Yeah.
It's the real set. Things happening.
Yeah.
Night's like really intense and like you don't get in his eye line when he's directing and he doesn't want to interview on camera right now, but you can go meet him.
Yeah.
And he like goes to meet him and like there's weird electronic interference.
And it says
it's like
super title like audio cut out, audio malfunction.
Audio malfunctions the first time this happened, several times,
And you just hear M. Night go like, it's a lot.
So it's like the movie is trying to present him as this like reclusive,
yeah,
crazy person.
Right.
And so they go to his house which is an objectively creepy thing to do so early in the movie, to go outside his gated mansion in the Philadelphia suburbs, standing outside this house, teenagers wearing hoodies, and Nathaniel Kahn is like, oh, well, they're probably just hanging out. They want an autograph. When has that ever happened?
Right.
When has that ever happened?
Absolutely.
Who's the most famous director that's never happened once to them in their entire life?
Like, the only people who will wait outside a gate like that are people whose wires are so crossed that they believe, like, Leo's going to see me and fall in love with me.
Yeah, of course. Right.
You know?
Right. I mean, you're supposed to believe that
they're
there are a
just
bunch of
there
teenagers
every day.
because they love M. Night Shyamalan and the mysterious supernatural origins of his directing powers.
But once again,
that is literally what they say.
I just want to restate the implication is that they are there frequently.
Yeah, all the time. And they're just like, you don't know? Like, as if it is commonly known knowledge that M. Night Shyamalan can commune with the spirit world. Right?
Yeah, that
this
he's
is the scene you were supposed to be in.
touch with another dimension. So I was supposed to be one of these kids. I was riding a bicycle. I was quiet. I was wearing a hoodie, right?
Yeah, sure.
I'm not visible at all in this film. This scene was totally reshot. I think it was even like a different location it looked like.
Sure.
But
you're saying you weren't actually at M. Night's house? Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that's the point. I didn't really want to be an actor at this point. I was like, I don't know. You want to pay me to miss school? I'll do it. Sure. Like, I at this point also had stopped doing stand-up. Like, I had retired at the age of 13.
The Bush era was getting you down? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I was just in my angsty teenage phase. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And, I just would, like, occasionally go on audition because I was like, well, it'd be cool if I got paid money to miss school. Like, that was my thing.
Sure.
And then a couple years later, I was like, oh, I really want to be acting. I sort of got the bug.
Yeah, but where are the Gonzo?
Yeah, but where the Gonzo changed everything. I had long hair. I looked like a brunette Carrot Top. Like, I thought if I grew my hair and I didn't get a haircut, I would look like Lars Ulrich from Metallica.
I've seen pictures. Wow, second Metallica reference.
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of you on your Facebook page as a younger man. I can picture it.
It was bad.
Okay.
So I was riding around a bicycle, and then he would, like, be asking these general questions, and then he'd, like, sort of notice me, right? That I was, like, the kid who wasn't saying anything.
Uh-huh.
And, like, point me out and sort of ask me questions.
Yeah.
I was originally the Ouija board kid.
Oh, you were going to be the Ouija board kid.
I was going to be the Ouija board kid. So the following scene in the film is they go to the house. There's this one kid.
Yeah, I can't look up who it is.
Yeah.
Some kid. But I mean, like, I just can't get past the premise that these kids somehow know about this.
Yeah, everyone.
So he brings out a Ouija board.
Yes.
And they ask the Ouija board.
Oh, my God. The bottle just moved.
That Snapple bottle is as if possessed.
What?
They ask the Ouija board if the spirit world has been in contact with
it's
someone
such a great
called...
podcast.
This is like a visual gag.
Yeah. Also, you know what else is great? Us doing this thing about a thing no one has ever watched or ever will watch.
No.
I will say my friend Matt Singer, who I don't think listens to this podcast, but he's
Film Spotting SVU?
Yes, of Film Spotting SVU, a great podcast. He works for Screen Crush. I always confuse Screen Crush and Screen Rant, even though one is good and one is terrible.
Yeah. Rant-worthy.
Boy. He reviewed this film for IFC.com.
Oh, I've read that piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it's like, yes, in a sort of, retrospective, isn't this crazy thing. So he's seen it. I don't know if anyone else in the world has ever seen it.
But once again, it was my first acting job, and I had not seen it until 12 hours ago.
They go and they ask the Ouija board, does anyone in this spirit world commune with, like, someone called Night? No reaction.
Yeah.
The kid's like, well, ask his real name, And the guy's like, oh, yeah, his real name, Minaj. Okay. Tries that. Boom.
Okay, so when I shot the scene...
Oh, so you shot the Ouija board scene.
I shot it.
I didn't know that was... Okay, cool.
I shot...
So you did a bad job and they recast you.
I think so.
Did you shoot the chat room shit?
No.
Okay.
So here's the other thing.
So maybe they just wanted to add the chat room stuff because that's so great.
Yeah.
So wait, how did they shoot the Ouija board scene?
So this is...
Was there a magnet?
This is the insight I can give you here, okay? When I shot the scene, we go down to the basement, we were doing the Ouija board, and then we just fucking did a Ouija board.
Maybe they thought, like, let's spice this up a little bit.
I think that might have been the reason for reshoots.
This is already the most boring thing that ever happened.
Right, because what happens here is they have, like, a fucking magnet under the table.
Yeah, and it genuinely moves
They lift
of
their
its own
hands
volition.
off.
Yeah.
Like, their hands are up over their heads, and the thing moves like...
And then after, didn't you guys shoot, like, something where you did light as a feather, stiff as a board?
Benny!
That's killing it today.
That is kicking ass.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so then the kid shows him a website. He's like, where do you know about this stuff?
Oh, my God. So, I mean, and this is, who doesn't enjoy an early aughts film's complete misunderstanding of how the internet works?
Okay, so
it's great.
Here's the structure of this website.
You have to take a quiz about M. Night. There
Multiple
are very
choice.
obvious answers. It's basically like, is he from Philadelphia? Yes, no. Like, things like that.
Yeah.
What's his favorite number? You know, and it's like 6 because of the sixth sense.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
So Nathaniel Kahn aces this quiz, right?
Yeah, he kicks ass. He gets one wrong, and the kid helps him on one question. I can't remember what it is.
Okay, so once he finishes the quiz,
Then you're in the M. Night.
right?
Yeah, sure. Well, that was true to life.
Yeah,
that is
right.
what websites were like in
Right.
2003.
But that's not main landing page, right?
No,
That's
no.
first you go straight to the quiz. Then if you ace the quiz, you get a flash intro. You can't skip the flash intro, right? And the intro is a
You
bunch
never
of
could skip a flash intro.
Of course not.
That was the whole thing. And then you take another
But
quiz
I
and
just
find
wanna
out
say-
which Dave Matthews Band song you are.
I just want to.
Oh, boy.
The flash intro is a bunch of still images of M. Night Shyamalan that are just sort of like sliding over
Yeah,
each
yeah,
other.
yeah.
And then the website then is
Now-
just a chat room.
Yeah, there may be other verticals in this website, but we don't see
doesn't
them.
look
We just
like
see a site called Chat.
Yeah.
Only ever 2 people in the chat room. One
Yeah.
is the director, Nathaniel Kahn. I forgot his name, and I had to look again. And the other is someone with a name and then a number corresponding to how deep their knowledge of M. Night goes.
Right. So
From 1 to 5.
Nathaniel Kahn gets.
Guys, this is the movie. It was 3 hours long. It aired on the SyFy Channel. 3 hours with ads. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes without ads. And I had to watch this last
I want to
night.
investigate the logic of this chat room thing for like 45 minutes here, okay?
It's bonkers. Does it change your name automatically? Do you take a better quiz? It's like he passes that quiz, he gets a 1, right?
Yeah, so do you get a
Then,
different
like, there's
quiz
a new
every
quiz.
time?
Maybe.
Oh, I thought it was like 10,000 hours kind of thing. Like the
Maybe
more
it's
time
that.
you
Maybe
log
it's a Malcolm
in.
Gladwell thing. That's perfectly fair.
Malcolm Gladwell was the mod in the chat. They made that
Yeah,
clear.
they made that very clear.
Yeah, he
And,
was the
you know,
mod. But can I just identify a moment here I love? Nathaniel Kahn goes, what's the deal with all the numbers? As if the idea of people having numbers in their usernames is so
It's
foreign that it
perverse.
needs to be called out. Like everyone has one single digit number between 1 and 5 at the end of their username. And he's like, oh, you don't know? And then it's like, yeah, the numbers are relational. How deep you go, how much you know about M. Night.
The first time he's on this chat room, guys, this movie.
It also sounds like Scientology levels. Like it's like the
I
level
know
7.
you guys
like
think we're yeah, totally. Yeah. You think we're going to just talk about this movie for so long, but really, like, there's like 3 things that happen that are funny, and then that's kind of it. It's like one idea, and then they just kind of spin their wheels for like an hour and a half.
60% of the movie is the filmmaker deciding whether or not to release the film.
Yeah, and whether or not to like
Essentially.
ask Knight one last question.
Like whether or not he should show this footage to anyone.
Okay, so he talks to a level 5 on this chat room.
Yeah.
And this guy can sense what he's wearing,
Yeah.
where he is.
Yeah.
It's intense stuff.
Okay. So Kahn is going deep, right?
Yeah.
He's
That's
fallen
Nathaniel Kahn.
down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
He's back in his hotel room with his crew.
This is the one. I mean, what can you say about this scene? It's like cinema, right? You know, you've got like Murnau, you've got Griffith, you've got the studio era. You know, you've got the French New Wave. You've got it all, and then the Javier, the pizza delivery guy, shows up in this movie. And cinema closes the book and starts a new one because he says, "Oh, and I also know tech stuff."
And the idea.
It is outrageous. He has 2 pizza boxes under his arm. This is obviously a guy. They were just like, they handed him 2 empty boxes, and they're like, "You're a pizza guy."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Can I use my name?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "Great, I'm Javier the pizza guy." They're like, "Oh, but you need to know how to use a chat room."
Yeah.
And action.
And the idea, I guess, is that Javier will be able to figure out how they were able to know what Nathaniel Kahn was wearing.
He then goes on the chat room and asks what someone's wearing, and the guy's like, "This is not that kind of site, buddy." You know, it's like a sex joke.
Yeah, they neg him.
Anyway, I don't. There's something to say about this scene.
Can I say something else?
Yeah.
So there are...
Or this movie.
Yeah. There are moments in this film where you are clearly watching interviews with people off the street who don't know that they're in a fictional documentary.
Yeah, and I think they're just being asked.
Hold on a second. Did you order a pizza, David?
Oh, hey, who's this?
What's up, man? you guys got a pizza?
Yeah, I can't hear you. You're not on mic. What's going on?
Hey,
Wait, are those 2 pizza
you
boxes
guys-
under your arm?
what are you guys making, a radio show?
We're doing a podcast. You wouldn't know anything about that, right?
No, I don't know anything about podcasts.
Oh, really? I thought maybe
That's not going with the bit.
you do some podcasts on the side.
Oh, Podcast.
No one gets this. No one saw this stupid movie. So let's just wrap. I'm just going to wrap up the main point of this. I don't want to drag it out like this thing does.
Okay. Yeah.
And I want to say, so it's clear that this thing wants to include all 3 major Shyamalan movies as part of some sort of interconnected mythology behind the director.
Oh, I just want to say this before we get into this. This was the Javier point, right? Is that like Javier, like there are points in the film where he's like walking around the streets of Philadelphia and like asking people on the street, like,
right, where
do you know about M. Night Shyamalan?
They're doing like a vox pop. Yeah.
Right. And you like sense like, oh, right, this is what like a real documentary looks like.
Sure.
This is how like
Hey, you
real
like M.
people
Night?
talk when they're not acting. And then Javier comes in and he's like out of like a fucking like Mama's Family episode. You know?
It's true.
Like
I
Javier's
was like, oh yeah, he's a good, he makes movies, so they're in Philadelphia, I guess. You know, like they have nothing to say.
like on one hand, the performances are not even like really anywhere within the realm of realism.
No.
Like they're so heightened. The fact that they actually thought they would be able to televise this and have people believe that it was a real thing. 2 is the structure of the film, how it's shot, which things are on camera. I mean, we talked about this.
Every room is like lit for cinema. It makes no sense at all.
Oh, wait, the pizza guy's coming. The pizza guy's coming. Put the cameras on.
And also,
Is that a camera? You guys making a movie?
have you ever seen a documentary that is more than half about
the making of the documentary?
No, beyond that, more than half about whether or not anyone will ever see the documentary. Like the filmmakers watching the scenes they just shot and being like, I don't know, should we show this to people?
The documentary should begin with this.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan, you've heard of him, director, right? 1-minute montage of M. Night Shyamalan's work.
Right.
When he was 10 years old, he fell into a fucking ice pond and was dead for 35 minutes, and then they revived him. And that gave him the ability to commune with the dead. Here, we're going to lay out why this is true.
Right. It should have
Instead,
been like
the movie has this like pure narrative where it's like they discover this very slowly over the course of 3 hours.
You're saying the more interesting version of this, if you were going to make this
This
wrong-headed
is a documentary
film,
making
right.
a very specific and very, inflammatory argument about somebody. Like, you would probably lead with that and then try to back up your evidence.
So, like, do it as loose change.
Do it as loose change, man. Loose change.
Right? That's what you have to
M.
do. It has to be like a conspiracy theory documentary.
Right. Exactly. And, like, just, whatever. Instead, it's basically Nathaniel Kahn.
Watching him trying to solve the mystery.
Who has been paid to, like, make a shill, like, documentary, stumbles very slowly into, after talking to some teenagers and going on a chat room, into this mysterious myth about M. Night, which is that he died for 35 minutes when he was 10 years old.
But look at the films, David. Look at the past films.
Well, and even his
start
childhood
to make
films.
connections.
His childhood films. There's a part of the film where he goes to M. Night's like childhood neighborhood, right?
Yeah,
and he's like, "Did M. Night used to live here?" And they're like, "I'm not going to talk about that." It's like everyone's
But then
in on
other
it. It's a
people-
conspiracy.
Some people
Everyone
are like,
else knows.
"Oh, I can't talk to you about that," and they like turn pale and they like won't talk anymore.
Right.
Other people are like, "Well, let me tell you something about him. He fell into an ice pond for 35." Like it's like all right, there's so much to say. But
There's
first,
an old lady who's like, "Oh, I remember M. Night. He used
I
to
have
make
his
films."
movies.
It's like, what? It's like, yeah, I have like 20 VHS tapes. What was
so
your relation to
ridiculous.
him? Sometimes
He
he
was a
made films in my
neighborhood
One time he filmed in my front yard as a location. And she watches them, she breaks them down. She's like, look at that, the use of light there. You can see the character starting a new chapter. Like, there is a point where she says, like, light comes in and now everything's changed.
I know. And, like, they're authorized. Every interview has authorized or not authorized underneath it in a subtitle. Some of the authorized people basically say, like, yeah, I mean, he was a nice, normal kid and he made movies. And then, oh, I guess I shouldn't talk about this. As if they're just realizing that, like, even though M. Night apparently authorized them to speak to them, it doesn't make any sense.
Here's another thing that happens
I know you haven't seen this movie, and I'm sorry I'm nitpicking at it.
Here's another thing that happens at least 3 times in the movie.
What?
People reference how handsome M. Night Shyamalan is.
Oh, now, he's kind of handsome.
He's not a bad-looking guy.
He's a decent-looking guy.
Okay,
but they do talk about it a lot.
So they go to a childhood
Handsome
teacher.
boy. Yeah.
Right? And they go like, I remember him so vividly. He was so smart. He had stunning eyes. Like, she, like, hits on, like, his eyes were just so beautiful, right? There's another point where they say, like, he was such a handsome man. There's a point where they talk to a fake childhood friend of his, and they're like, so what's M. Night to you? And it's like, what's M. Night to me? When I think of M. Night, I think about the guy who always stole my girlfriends.
Yeah.
And it was like, really? And it's like, no, I mean, just one.
Just one.
But they, like, keep on hitting this point
And
that
then
M.
it
Night's like this
turns out
lady
that was Elle
killer.
McPherson.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. They keep talking about how he's a lady killer.
They keep on talking about he's just a fucking handsome, dashing guy who women are so innately attracted to, right? And how he always had this thing. Now, they go to the teacher, And they were like, he was very smart, stunning eyes, he had a great dick, he was beautiful.
And it's Catholic school, that is accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's his, but like, he's at least a nun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, do you socialize with other people? And it's like, well, there was one boy he was very interested in.
Mm-hmm.
He used to draw him a lot. His name was Henry.
Right. And now it's immediately obvious to everyone but filmmaker Nathaniel Kahn that she is talking about an imaginary friend. And then she digs up a picture of a boy in period clothing.
She has kept a drawing. She goes, you want to see it?
This drawing. It's a fucked up drawing.
It's the funniest drawing I've ever seen.
It's a boy in period clothing. He's got like little suspenders.
Yeah.
One of his eyes looks like it's been punched repeatedly or something. Like it's looking in the wrong direction because it's a corpse.
He's got a Marty Feldman eye, but one eye straight forward.
He's got a Marty Feldman eye. That's exactly
right. And the other eye's like drooping,
and looking in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Now, so the basically the theory of this movie is 1, The Sixth Sense. M. Night can see the dead.
Yeah,
right?
Right.
2, Unbreakable. He got this power when he drowned, like through water. And 3, Signs. He lived at the Signs house when this happened. The Signs one is the toughest one to connect because it's about aliens. Oh, I should say there's a scene where Nathaniel Kahn just watches the movie Signs and says how good it is. He's like, this is great. You don't see the alien for like an hour.
like, that's filmmaking. That's really good filmmaking.
So it's like 1 talks to the dead. That's the real thing. That's the Sixth Sense. And the poster of this movie looked like the Sixth Sense, except
very
it was
M. Night walking
coming out of the thing. And instead of a 6, I believe it's an S shape in the background.
Yeah, because it's a secret.
And then Unbreakable is just the water thing.
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable. You're gonna, you got that right.
Drop it in.
You gonna drop it in?
Yeah.
Unbreakable.
It's back on April 13th.
Hey now.
Great show. I've been watching it. Season 2. It's still good. So he fell in the water, but for 35 minutes, and we talked to a doctor who says that is possible because hypothermia preserves the body. Or whatever. But he was dead.
Right.
And then Signs, it was the Signs house.
And there's one point where he's like reviewing all the footage from all the films and trying to connect the dots, and they go like. They
show a lot of clips from the film.
So they play The Sixth Sense, Haley Joel Osment talking about seeing dead people.
And he like goes to the Sixth Sense church at one point.
Right.
Yeah.
Then they play the clip from Unbreakable of Bruce Willis falling into the tarp.
With the voiceover of the lady
woman explaining,
being like, he was dead in the water. You know, yeah.
And then I'm like, what clip are they going to play from Signs? What clip will sum it up so quickly that you can get it in shorthand? And the clip they show is Joaquin Phoenix knocking over a glass of water with his baseball bat. They just have him go, water. It hurts them.
Oh, my God. But yeah, and then there's this ultimate... I think it's the movie considers it a twist that, like, the Signs house is real and M. Night went, like, he grew up there.
Yeah.
And there's a crow living in it.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah, he can summon crows with his, like, mind powers, maybe?
So for an unauthorized documentary, M. Night does a bunch of interviews.
Yeah, okay, so this is the thing.
That's the main dramatic conflict of the movie can we get an M. Night interview?
They only get him 4 times. So he meets with him on camera, but they don't do an interview.
But David, he just wants to hang out.
Well, this is the thing.
He wants to go out into the town, have a cheesesteak, be a guy.
The first interview is not an interview. They just meet briefly. They shake hands. The second interview is supposed to be like a regular interview. He talks about a Sanskrit necklace.
Yeah.
And then Kahn asks some question about like, the spirit world. And M. Night gets like really agitated and shuts off the interview. Yeah. Right? The third interview.
And the PR woman chews him
it's like,
out.
what are you asking about that? Yeah. I don't understand what he's supposed to be asking them about.
Yeah.
Anyway, the third thing is they go out for a night on the town in Philly. They get a cheesesteak, and then they play some pool.
Yeah.
And some people want to take pictures with M. Night.
People are always stopping M. Night. Always
so
want a picture, so handsome, want a little autograph.
And they're talking about too, like they're like hanging out in the back of this car. They're going around to M. Night's like favorite haunts, but the whole crew is there, and he keeps on going like, "See, this is what I want, man. You know, just like hanging out like this." And Nathaniel Kahn's like, "Yeah, I love it." And every once in a while, Nathaniel Kahn will be like, "So, in Sixth Sense," and he's like, "Man,
I thought we were just hanging out."
It's starting to sound like an interview. It's like you thought they were just hanging out. The fucking crew's there. He brought a camera crew. They mic'd you up. You got a love. What are you talking about?
I don't understand the purpose of this sequence at all. It's quite a long sequence in the film. It's like 15 minutes long.
It almost feels
because
like
it makes him look like a pretty nice normal guy who is not hiding anything at all.
Okay, so I think that was the point of the sequence in the film.
Okay.
I think M. Night wanted to convince people.
I don't want to just be like a creep. Yeah.
I think M. Night wanted to convince people that he was a fun hang. I think that's why this exists in the movie. Is he was just like, I mean, I want people to still hang out with me. I want to cultivate this like mythology and this creepy thing, but I also want people to know I'm just like, you know, I eat Philly cheesesteak just like everyone else. I just hold the onions.
I would too, by the way.
That's insane. David, that's insane.
Holding the onions?
Yeah.
I like onions, but I don't need that many onions.
It makes a Philly cheesesteak.
I'm not a huge fan of a Philly cheesesteak. I'm gonna level with everyone on this podcast.
Okay. Yeah, I
cut that out.
Yeah,
or-
let's cut that out. That's inflammatory.
I think it's okay. I don't know.
Wow.
Well, I think it's one of the best.
Love a good cheesesteak.
So good. I'm a regular M. Night Shyamalan. So he's like a fun hang. They do this one interview out in the woods where a crow just appears and lands on the branch behind them while they're talking. And then later when they review the footage, they realize there's also a different crow behind Nathaniel Kahn.
Uh-huh.
When they go to the house, crows like fly out of the...
One crow flies out of one room.
Very dramatically.
Well, for this movie, very dramatically. For another movie, barely dramatically.
And then when they review the footage, they realize they see Henry's ghost in the mirror behind
in that scene. Yeah.
the crow.
Very obvious, like a full resolution like image, not a shadowy thing at all. Henry is the Victorian ghost boy who was ghost murdered in the ghost pass in the ghost pond that M. Night Shyamalan later fell in to rescue a deer from. By the way, M. Night Shyamalan, friend to deers. Friend to deer, sorry.
Friend to deer.
He was trying to rescue a deer as a child.
Yeah.
Fell in an ice pond, ghost Henry. It communes with the ghost. This movie is fucking stupid. And so then it's got that, and there's like 2 more interviews with M. Night. And I guess the last one is like where the guy's just like, so you fell in a ghost pond, ghost? You talked to ghosts?
Yeah.
And M. Night's like, nah, man, I don't know. I gotta go. Like, and then that's it. And then it's an hour of him trying to decide whether or not to release the damn thing.
We left out the most important part of the movie.
No, we're getting to that.
Yeah.
We're getting to the most important part. Don't you worry.
Okay, good.
That's the kicker.
Yes.
Sure. That's
So, but should we get to? Well, so first, we should say
the film ends with him signing a contract with SyFy Channel to air the film as is.
Yeah.
Them discussing whether or not they'll have any legal repercussions.
Yeah.
And watching him in the editing room, going like, "I think I need to show this to people. People need to know." And then the last 6 minutes of the film are largely, it feels like, real on the street interviews with people about their paranormal experiences.
totally wedged in nonsense.
Right. And the idea, they like just show them and being like, I know what I saw. I know it's real. And Nathaniel Kahn's getting at this idea that like he needs to release this film not to like muddy up M. Night's name, but so that other people out there know that they're not alone, that they're not crazy, that these things have happened even to Academy Award nominee M. Night Shyamalan. Mm-hmm. And that's how the film ends, is just on these interviews with other people.
Yeah, it's stupid. But there's a couple other things I want to mention before we get to the main thing.
Yeah.
Because that part's stupid. Do you agree?
Yeah, dumb. Mad dumb.
Bad. Okay, so
and also, the character I was supposed to play appears like 6 more times. He goes to him for like follow-up
they
interviews.
keep going back to the chat room.
Yeah. And he keeps on like going to meet him outside of school and ask him like more questions.
Yeah, he should be arrested.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Kahn for his behavior in this film.
Yeah, 100%.
Because he also there's this thing they never resolve where there are 2 black limousines
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my God, we have to talk about this scene.
that just sort of hover
Outside the set of the
village. And when he tries to approach one, they drive away.
They have no license plates, front or back plates. And he's like looking there. They're parked there all the time. The second he like cups his hands, he says the mirrors are totally smoked.
Mm-hmm.
The windows are totally smoked, right? And he like cups his hands to try to look through the window. And the second he like touches the window, it peels out.
Right.
It's a ghost car.
Yeah, it's stupid. But anyway, so he interviews Adrian Brody.
Okay, star of The Village.
Yeah, and Adrian Brody doesn't have anything to say. We'll get back to him because obviously the Adrian Brody interviews uses a button for the other thing in this movie.
Right.
But I was just annoyed because they also talk about how they're going to interview Joaquin Phoenix, William Hurt, and Sigourney Weaver. And I was like, hey, they got Brody and they got a certain other person in this movie who's in this movie unbelievably. Yeah. You know, why can't they get these guys? They're on the fucking set of The Village. They don't even get them.
David, it's a close set, okay?
It's really annoying. I wanted at least to have to watch Joaquin Phoenix debase himself for this movie.
So, okay, I want to talk about how to set up this thing, because the way they get to the crazy appearance in this film, okay? They go to the childhood friend who complains about M. Night stealing all the girls, right?
Yeah.
And Nathaniel Kahn asked this question that no one would ever ask, where he's like, you know, working with actors, you know, he works with Bruce Willis on The Sixth Sense, and that's a big breakout. And then he works with him again on Unbreakable, and then they don't work together again. Is there a story there?
He basically is like, what happened with Bruce Willis?
And he's like, I think they were close on The Sixth Sense, and then I think Unbreakable,
The film does not resolve whether or not M. Night Shyamalan scared Bruce Willis with his spooky ghost powers.
Well, they sort of imply that. They're like,
they do.
And then
they sort of imply it.
Right.
They also sort of imply that maybe Mel Gibson has entered his spooky ghost realm, but then they don't follow that up.
Right. And they're like, I think,
because
I shouldn't talk about this. I shouldn't talk about this.
But you find out that he met with another actor for Signs
said,
before Mel Gibson.
He said, well, yeah. Oh, so what he says
now, this may have been made after Mel Gibson had his sugar tits freak out or whatever his other, his Passion of the Christ freak out.
Before.
It doesn't matter.
I think it was before.
Mel Gibson's not in this movie.
Right. No, I realize this is the stream of what he does. He goes, Bruce Willis, this is what he went, Bruce Willis, he does Sixth Sense, then he does Unbreakable. He's not in Signs.
Sure.
Why did that relationship end? To sort of imply that something bad happened. And he goes, was Bruce Willis ever planned to be the lead in Signs? And he goes, I don't think Bruce Willis was, but there was another actor. And he goes, another actor? Who was it? He goes, he says, but you know about the other actor. He says it offhand. He goes,
right.
But you know about the other actor before Mel.
Right.
And he goes, what other actor? He goes,
this is, as far as I know, completely made up.
Oh, completely made up. And he's like, oh, I thought you knew. And he's like, no. And he's like, I shouldn't talk about this. I shouldn't talk about this. And then turns around and gets on a train. This whole interview is happening.
I forgot about that. He literally runs onto a train that then leaves the station.
This interview is just happening at a train platform.
I believe it's at the Unbreakable station.
Yes.
Yeah, Broad Street.
Unbreakable.
Got it. All right.
Poor Ben has to note the time every time.
Unstoppable. But yes, they've just been having this calm, casual interview at a train.
And then he gets on a train.
Right at the point where he gets to the uncomfortable
Griffin,
part of the
who
interview.
was the other actor?
Well, he goes into the chat room. And he goes,
Of
hey,
course.
little M. Night.
The best thing is he has to go back to the fucking kid's basement over and over again. Anyway.
He goes, little M. Night quiz for everyone. So he's like, I'm going to figure out the answer to this question I don't know the answer to by posing it as a question to these other kids like they have to impress me. Because at this point, Nathaniel Kahn has risen to a 2.
He becomes a 2. I don't think he ever hits 3.
I don't think so.
I think he sticks with 2.
But he hits a 2 on the board, right? And he's like, quick Signs trivia time. Or quick M. Night trivia time. They're like, okay, give us what you got. And he's like, did you know that there was another actor in talks, or he says attached to do Signs before Mel? And the guy goes like, oh, yeah, of course. He's like, okay, who?
And then there's a whole rigmarole about, like, you need to tell me something. Where's the village set? Like, there's a whole back and forth.
Right, he exchanges
Doesn't
information.
matter, who gives a shit. And then he says the name.
Can we say it in unison?
1, 2, 3.
Johnny
Depp.
Depp.
And this is in 2003.
This is
Pirates of the Caribbean
right
just came
after.
out. I mean, the movie came out a year later, but this is Johnny Depp is hot shit.
But David, I worked on this film, and I can attest that this film was shooting in October of 2003.
Yeah, right. So it was right after
this was
the
4 months.
smash hit success.
Yeah.
Did you know he was going to be in the movie?
Absolutely not.
They didn't say to you, like, oh, and this is a Depp picture.
Absolutely not. Johnny Depp, Nathaniel Kahn finds out it's Johnny Depp, and the next thing you see is him overlooking the Philadelphia skyline from his hotel room on the phone with his aunt.
Yeah.
Right?
So.
Or his mom.
I don't fucking
He's
know.
calling his mom, and he goes, hey, Mom, you know that friend of yours who you went to elementary school with, who you said then became Johnny Depp's aunt? Do you have her number? That's like the actual line of dialogue. And then it cuts to Nathaniel Kahn meeting Johnny Depp at the Chateau Marmont. And Johnny Depp is in this movie for like 6 minutes.
And I would say gives a pretty terrific performance.
I think so too. This is actually a good Johnny Depp performance.
He's acting like a regular person.
He's the only person who feels like a real person in the movie.
Easily better than like most of the performances he's given in the last 5 or so years.
Agreed. And he actually
everything post Sweeney Todd. Basically,
he's the only person who feels like he's not acting.
Yeah, I
in
agree.
the whole film.
He's
ironically.
very natural.
Very natural.
He's totally nailing the whole thing of like, I know I'm very famous and this is like a very nice place that I'm in, but like I'm just a guy and like
that's a great moment where Nathaniel Kahn's
fashion
like,
sense.
When he's like, I've got like beer and sandwiches.
Yeah,
and
but
stuff.
when Nathaniel Kahn's like, this is a great place we have here, he's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's not mine. He's like a little uncomfortable with how nice it is. But he says to him like, what was the experience like? And he's like, well, we met a few times and it was weird. The first time was fine, and the second time it felt like he was trying to like.
Yeah, the whole thing is like you've got Depp.
Yeah,
I don't know how this happened. I can't even begin to understand it. I'd love does Nathaniel Kahn know Depp? Does M. Night know Depp? Never made a movie with him.
That's
none of
what's
it makes any sense.
Yeah.
you've got Depp, and then you don't even really use it for much of anything. He just kind of suggests that M. Night was weird.
Well, okay.
And then he says, like, he was made to learn these parroted sort of quotes about secrets, about, like, oh, you know.
George Bernard quote, which he couldn't remember. And then the other one is, like, I think.
It stuck out because it was so goofy.
Yeah, he goes, like, secrets are interesting because you don't know whether or not they're real or not, don't you think? And he goes, and I remembered
the question at the
that
end.
one because of the question at the end.
Real
But what
Johnny Depp.
The reality of this film,
and like I know we all rag on him now, but he was such a fucking huge deal.
That was his peak.
Such a huge deal.
That was his
time.
peak moment.
Secret Window like made $80 million at the box office, even though it was the worst movie ever made.
Right.
Just because he was in it. You know, anything he was in was the hottest shit.
This was Johnny Depp had just been nominated for an Oscar for Pirates of the Caribbean,
right,
which is one of the highest grossing films of all time.
Absolutely.
Like he could not have been at a better point because he was like. It was his first Oscar nomination for his first big commercial breakthrough.
Comeback.
It was everything.
Yeah.
It was everything. He was on the very top of the world, right? And he decides to appear in The Buried Secret of M. Night Shyamalan. And this film implies that Johnny Depp, at this peak moment, right? I guess Signs had been a little bit earlier, but he was still a big star, right?
Yeah.
That
he had maybe,
which, by the way, he would have been terrible in that role.
Yeah.
It's a horrible casting idea for him to play the Mel Gibson role in Signs. But the film implies that he had 2 meetings, exploratory meetings with M. Night Shyamalan about taking the role. And on the second meeting, probably like a coffee meeting or whatever, M. Night was like, hey, I love this talk we're doing about the script. Before we go any further, can I have you memorize 3 quotes that you can apply when doing press for the film that we haven't even shot yet, that we're still just talking about whether or not you want to be in? At meeting number 2, he was like, here's a George Bernard Shaw quote. Oh, you want me to memorize this for the character? No, I want you to memorize this for when you do interviews. 2 years from now. Anyway, when he goes back and interviews Adrian
I don't have
Brody...
anything to say about this.
Adrian
I think
Brody,
there's also an implication that he tried some weird supernatural shit on Johnny Depp, and that's why Johnny Depp dropped out.
Agreed.
Like, he was like, Henry's here.
Yeah.
But then I love the implication that he then tried that on Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson was like, yeah, we're cooking with gas. You're crazy. I love it. I see ghosts too.
When he interviews Adrian Brody says the stuff that Johnny Depp said he had been taught to memorize, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to get Adrian Brody to just talk about the film. And he's like, can you tell us about your character? And he's like, I don't think I can. Which is like, boy, are you going to be disappointed when you hear what his character is? It's Simple Jack who stabs people. He's like, I don't think I can say anything about my character.
He won't even admit that he has long hair.
Yeah, I heard he had long hair in it. I don't know. The thing about secrets is, and then he just goes into the quote. And you're like, okay, I get the point they're making. He does this to every actor.
Yeah.
But instead, the film cuts to Nathaniel Kahn in the editing room going, show me that tick. Show me that clip again of Johnny Depp.
They rewind it like 6 times in case you didn't get it.
And they go back and forth between the two. They go to Johnny Depp saying, I don't remember, some George Bernard Shaw quote. And then they go back to Adrian Brody going, I think it says George Bernard Shaw said. And he's like, wait a second, rewind it.
Wait, but did these quotes match up or were it 2 separate George Bernard Shaw
They
quotes?
treat it like the JFK assassination.
It's like back and to the left.
They go 4 times. They go back and forth.
Fucking so stupid. Ben, how long have we been running for?
Over an hour.
Okay, so we're just going to wrap this shit up.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do we think of M. Night Shyamalan?
God, I mean, this was
a nice insight into his egomania, his perceived egomania, and what,
where everything went wrong.
People began to really dislike about him, which was that he would take over a movie in a way that, the movie didn't need.
Well, and there's also, there are 2 moments when he's being interviewed in this film that I think are actually pretty telling, right? And M. Night's not bad in this. From an acting standpoint, he's not bad.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. He's fine. He's perfectly personable.
He's
a little too, cute with the whole, I'm a coy creepo, but he's fine.
I agree. But I think it's maybe his 3rd best performance.
Are we ranking M. Night performances? So wait, what's the best?
The best one, I think, is Lady in the Water. I think that is his best performance.
That's sort of, I can't award that at any sort of trophy.
Ray Reddy's the worst one, right?
Ray Reddy is the most harmful, but I would say Lady in the Water is probably the 2nd most harmful.
But I think that's from a character standpoint, not from a performance
I understand.
standpoint.
I think his best performance is in The Sixth Sense.
Oh, he's really good in that.
And then his 2nd best performance is The Village.
Okay, can I do definitive ranking?
No, there's no ranking.
This is my ranking. My ranking is Lady in the Water, Sixth Sense, Then I'd go The Buried Secret.
Sure, then The Village?
Then I'd go The Village.
What about Unbreakable?
That would be next.
Unbreakable. Ha! Fuck, did it again.
Damn it.
Then Praying with Anger. Then I thought he was really bad in The Happening.
Who's he? Oh, he's
The voice of Joey on the phone.
Just like, did you see 10 Cloverfield Lane?
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper's voice at
Yeah.
the beginning there. Did
Yeah.
you like 10 Cloverfield Lane?
Yeah.
Let's talk about some other movies.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw my tweet about 10 Cloverfield Lane.
I think you did a similar tweet to the tweet I did, which was something like more like 8.5 Cloverfield
That was my
Lane
exact
or
tweet,
whatever.
yeah.
I think I did something like
I think
that.
it's like a solid 8.5. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, that was a good movie. I'm
Yeah.
planning to see it again. I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
I just saw The Jungle Book, which we were talking about off mic.
Boy, I'm so excited for that movie.
Yeah, it's okay. I would say it's easily the best Jon Favreau movie that was made with a big budget since Iron Man.
But can
Which
we
is
say
about the worst compliment you can give a
Can we
movie.
say that I've been amped for this movie for like 5 months?
It's your kind of movie.
That when I saw the trailer, when we went to see not Phantom Menace, we went to see Force Awakens together.
Yeah.
And the trailer came up. I was like, I think that looks great. And you were like, I can't believe you think this looks good. It looks like garbage.
I was just, the whole animals talking biz is just hard to pull off. But they pull it off.
You're telling me
it's
that
good.
I was right.
I have some
You're
questions.
telling me that I was
Do you
right.
know any? Yeah,
You're telling me that I was
right. You're absolutely. I mean,
Unbreakable.
it was. I mean, to me, it's like a 3-star movie. But that's better than I thought it was going to be.
3 out of 4 or 5?
5. I'm not Roger Ebert. Yeah, you liked that, didn't you? It was good. But did they? Because you probably know more than me. Yeah. Was the kid acting against anything? Were there people doing motion capture? Was like Bill Murray on set or whoever?
Not the voice actors, but I believe there were people doing. Yeah.
Because I mean, the kid's bad, but he's kind of cute. But I mean, he's like objectively, it's a quite bad performance.
But that's like an impossible task.
It's impossible.
You'd have to find a wonder.
It's amazing
kid.
he reads a line at all.
You would need to find Haley Joel Osment.
I mean,
like,
he's got
need
the
to
look.
Find...
The kid's got the look.
Yeah, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Also, it has a different ending, and I was sort of intrigued by that.
Interesting.
And I haven't read Rudyard Kipling's Jungle Book, books.
Neither have I.
So I don't know if it was more like tapping into that, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But it's generally pretty good. It's not. It hasn't stuck with me at all.
I'm so excited to see it.
I'm
probably gonna fucking love it.
I had a decent time with it.
I'm gonna love it.
Favreau's a good director of action,
Yeah. Can we?
Although he made 2 awful movies, so But then Chef's good.
Which are the 2 you'd say are awful?
Iron Man 2 and Cowboys and Aliens.
Oh yes. Good.
You forgot Cowboys and Aliens existed, didn't you?
Yes, and I want
Everyone
to make
does.
sure. I want to make sure you weren't saying Zathura is awful.
No, Zathura's terrific. I mean, Elf, Zathura, Iron Man is a very nice run of like very winning movies.
Agreed.
Yeah. Love Favreau. Maid is not great.
Agreed.
Yeah. Although Diddy was great on Gethard.
Yes.
That was wonderful.
Here's some more.
Diddy is in Maid.
Here's some more M. Night
He
stuff
was
I
Puff
want to
Daddy
say.
back then.
Yeah.
Go back to M. Night.
There's 2 interviews in this film that I think are very telling, right?
Yeah.
One of them, he goes, I feel like I can't just make a movie now. I feel like every movie I make has to be something more.
Sure. Yeah.
And if I make a movie that's just
the complex
a movie,
he got wrapped up in there. Right there.
But he's playing that as the character, but you're like, that
real.
line of dialogue explains why this documentary, quote-unquote, exists.
The Village, Lady in the Water, and probably to some extent The Happening.
Yeah.
Then I think he finally is disabused of that notion.
Yes. But
there needs to be this big M. Night mystique around everything he does.
I think he felt hoisted by his own petard.
He absolutely
that the
must
reputation
have.
had become so big that he had to... Yeah.
Think about it. He makes 2 movies that are not along these lines at all.
Yeah.
And then he gets so locked in by The Sixth Sense that he makes a documentary in the style of The Sixth, like practically tapping into like the thriller mood.
Which, by the way, conveniently ignores the other 2 fucking movies.
They do say that The Village is his 6th movie. It's the one acknowledgement of Praying with Anger and Wide Awake.
But it's like if
and there is that scene where it turns out that Henry is the lead actor in Wide Awake.
Yeah.
That's not true, guys.
I wish. He's asleep.
I'm so glad to be rid of this bit.
Yeah,
but this is a bad one. This actively brings 2 of our episodes to a halt when he does it. Because the guest doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Because again, you don't need to watch either of the movies.
And you don't need to watch Wide Awake.
No.
It's also like Griffin does a lot of annoying like voices and sounds, but this is. Hey, what do you think of Rogue One? People were tweeting at me saying we got to talk Rogue One.
One of our fans on Twitter has said that he wants us to do a full 10-episode miniseries on the Rogue One trailer.
Yeah, I think that might be stretching it. It's a minute long.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
I thought it was great. I was very hyped about it.
I just I wasn't like blown away by it, but I liked everything I saw. It's just still early. I feel like I still haven't gotten a real sense of what the movie is. And this is a big one just because it's setting up the new paradigm where we can have these films that are sort of disconnected from the main storyline. But the idea is that they're all going to feed into each other still.
And they're a little
way.
nostalgic. You know, they've all got that. But it was just like that Godzilla trailer, I thought. Just that, you know, like he picks on a really cool noise to like punctuate the trailer. It's just
good images, great cast.
That line reading Forrest Whitaker has where it's like, what will they do if they break you?
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, I like a lot of what I'm seeing.
into it.
I am too.
Ben Mendelsohn looks terrific.
Oh, looks unbelievable.
What a great actor.
He's one of our finest actors.
We're so blessed to have Ben Mendelsohn.
We're so lucky to have him. We are. And
I'm really high-pitched right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me dial it down.
Talk about annoying sounds.
Yep, no. Oh, Deepak Chopra's in this movie.
Oh,
Forgot
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, he's also not bad.
He's okay. He's basically just asked to, you know, say some mumbo jumbo
about ghosts.
Read what I wrote about myself.
There is, what was I going to say? I was working, shooting something when the Star Wars trailer came out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I watched it by myself.
Justice League Part 1? Is that what you were shooting?
I'm shooting Justice League Part 1, yeah. They've
recast.
Next
week. We're talking about the next week.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm shooting an upcoming series for TBS.
Yeah, very exciting.
Not very exciting, very funny. Thank you.
Characters, welcome.
But
let's do all the other catch.
Yeah. I tried to make that joke.
Very funny.
It took me 6. What was the other one? We Know Drama.
That's TNT.
Yeah.
He's very funny.
It's TBS.
Was TBS.
Yeah, it is
What's
TBS.
the Bravo? Oh, Watch What Happens was Bravo? Or?
Yeah.
I feel like there's another Bravo one.
And then we started having to do that live. Yeah.
Characters Welcome is also TBS?
No, Characters Welcome's USA.
USA, absolutely. Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
IFC is Always On, Always Off, or something like that.
Slightly off.
All right, there you go. Always On, Always Off wouldn't make no sense.
This is just the thing I want to say.
We're always on. No, we're off. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I watched the trailer
for Rogue One, Star Wars. Rogue One,
right.
Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
That morning when I woke up, right? And then I was on set. And when I am on set, I leave my phone off.
You're locked in.
Away from my person.
Yeah, you're really irritatingly hard to communicate with.
Yes.
To set up podcast recordings.
Yep. 100%.
Yep.
So I was like totally outside of the echo chamber of everyone reacting to the podcast.
Yeah.
To the trailer, rather. And there was a kid on set. The child of one of the producers on the show was on set. And he was like 6. And he was wearing a Star Wars t-shirt.
Oh.
And I was like, I want to talk to this kid about the trailer. Because I haven't been able to talk to anyone about the trailer. And I was like, what do you think of the trailer? And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
He's 6 years old.
So we pulled it up on a computer and watched it with him.
Yeah.
And I will say, I could not explain to him the idea that this was not episode 8.
Yeah, I've
wonder
heard this,
if that's going to
be a problem.
Like, and then like a bunch of the adults on set were like, wait, there's already a sequel? And I was like, well, this is like...
No, haven't you been following the dev cycle, guys? Like, this is a different piece, like, in the same IP, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. The kid was really thrown off by
So you're saying this kid doesn't read Deadline every day?
No, he's more of like a Screen Rant guy.
Oh, God. It's funny. You know, we tried to do another M. Night episode, and we talked about him.
We did talk about him a lot.
And we did fucking 11 episodes of him,
Oh, this is the second quote I wanted to say that I thought was telling.
Go ahead.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay, so there was the thing about it, the movies have to be more than just a movie, right?
They do.
And then he said, like, I like the idea of the director being part of the story. That's not just the painting, but you're interested in the hand.
Yeah, sure.
Right? That did the painting.
Yeah.
And he references Alfred Hitchcock a bunch of times in the movie.
He loves the birds.
And he compares himself to Alfred Hitchcock.
That's the trivia question he gets wrong.
Yeah.
It's that the birds is the major inspiration, not Psycho or
right.
Full circle.
Full circle.
Yeah. But he says, like, it makes sense suddenly. You go like, oh, this whole M. Night thing was like him trying to position himself as a figure in his movies.
Sure.
Like Alfred Hitchcock.
Like Hitchcock used to do, yeah.
Okay, but let's compare M. Night Shyamalan to Alfred Hitchcock. And I'm not talking about in terms of filmography.
Movie by movie.
No, right? We're not going to do that.
Shadow of a doubt.
But I'm saying in this sense, as their role as a hand.
Dial M for murder.
Yeah.
Good
movie.
Lifeboat.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Dial M in 3D?
I haven't. No.
It's so
I haven't
cool.
seen
They do it
any
at Film Forum every couple of years. It's amazing. But let's compare this, right? Alfred Hitchcock appeared in every one of his films.
Sure, little cameos,
without
silent
cameos.
fucking
dialogue.
Yeah, no, I know.
And M. Night gave himself bigger and bigger dramatic roles,
but,
right?
Hitchcock also had Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Okay.
And he would introduce his trailers and this sort of like, I'm Alfred Hitchcock, and the tuba would play.
But this is the point I'd like to make.
Yeah.
M. Night equates himself to Alfred Hitchcock, and that he feels the need to make the supplemental material and create this mythology around his films so that he is the larger figure around them.
Mm-hmm.
Alfred Hitchcock did that in a way that people believed. Like, the prevailing theory is the reason Alfred Hitchcock was not taken seriously enough as a filmmaker in his time and why he never won an Academy Award was because his public persona was so goofy.
Yeah.
That he made these movies that were populist and that people liked a lot.
He made a shit ton of money.
But when he was doing the trailers, it was always like, oh, here's that goofy tub.
But I mean, that's why he was the first famous director.
Right, because he was entertaining.
Like, no one actually knew like what Victor Fleming looked like or what, it's not like someone could, it was John Huston over there.
Yeah.
Like, he was the first, showman director.
And Alfred Hitchcock essentially made himself into like a commedia dell'arte character.
Yeah, right. And he's hilarious in
it
those
was like, here's
trailers.
the iconography of what I look
the
like.
tuba plays.
It's the bits. I'm
Tuba.
just like, yeah.
Tuba.
Yeah.
Unbreakable.
The whole thing was that he
I'm
was
not
like
doing that one.
He was like
David.
this.
Put my foot down, all right? It is broken.
Damn, you did it. Wow, we broke it.
Ooh.
Broke that dumb bit.
He was this macabre, like kind of
Hitchcock,
jolly
man.
old British fat man.
Yeah.
And like he was poking the air out of the seriousness of his own movies.
Yeah.
And M. Night was like, what if I make my persona more serious than the films are?
Right.
It's such a fascinating
You're right.
inversion.
There's no...
And a misunderstanding of what Alfred Hitchcock did and why it made people like him and his movies.
Yeah, the tongue's not in the cheek.
Yes.
And this movie is the perfect example. Even though he didn't make it, it's the perfect example.
That was a good point, right? It was
It's
worth
a great point.
putting the train back on
I
the
rails.
rails.
I hope that everyone's still listening.
Yeah, right?
I really doubt it.
Yeah.
But I think let's wrap up M. Night Shyamalan. Any final thoughts, guys? And I do want to set up, I have a challenge for our listeners.
Okay, great.
So, M. Night Shyamalan wrote a book, guys. It's called I Got Schooled. I think we've mentioned it in the past episodes.
I believe, maybe briefly.
I don't know about this.
Yeah, he wrote a book about the American educational system. I think between...
A nonfiction book.
Yeah, between Lady in the Water and The Happening. Because he went to a Philly public
Catholic
school,
yeah.
and he was appalled by what
I
he
see.
saw in an
he
English
wanted
class.
to fix the education system, like a lot of rich people get this idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so he wrote a book, and I was thinking I was going to maybe read it as as my producer,
as a bit?
and just thought it'd be like but then I started.
Characters welcome.
Always funny.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
So anyway, I decided not to do that because that's stupid.
Yeah, it probably really would be a huge
and
waste
fuck
of your
this
time.
guy,
Yeah.
and I've already spent way too many hours of my life watching his movies. But the challenge is to any of the blankies out there, if they want to read it and give us a book report, we will read it on the air.
That is correct. Keep it within 200 words.
Challenge dropped.
Oh, M. Night, it's been fun. And then we're gonna move on to what are we calling it? This was a debate on Twitter.
I think we're going to do a Twitter. We've gotten a lot of good suggestions. The one I liked the best was the Podchowski casters.
Yeah, I agree. Me agree.
Yeah, because the best thing is...
Me agree, Griffin.
If you think we're like stir crazy right now, we're about to record another episode
this is
right
the
away.
First of two today.
We were going to go with the Podkowskis, and then someone pointed out that
My friend Alex Chris pointed out that we always have podcast in our titles.
So I think Podkowski
Such as
casters.
Podcast Shyamacast.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck this one's called.
I don't know. I'm losing my mind.
Pod Night Shyamacast.
All right, we got to wrap this up quick. You guys are falling apart.
Me agree. As always.
And
as always.
And as always, nighty night, Emily. Nighty night.
This has been a UCB comedy production. Check out our other shows on the UCB Comedy Podcast Network.